Welcome back. My name is Kyla P. Barnes. I am your financial chef and coach. Thank you for checking in with our podcast, Conversations About the C Word. This podcast has been really, really fun. It has been an immersive, interesting, random, unscripted way to talk about things that matter, talk about things like from cash to culture to Christ to consumption to consumerism, and even just talking about things related to items we deal with every day, like confidence. That's a big game changer. My topic today is going to be around time. And the reason I want to talk about time is because I feel as though if you're not monitoring what you're doing, why you're doing it, and you're not intentional about what you expect out of it, you are doing mindless things. You are engaging in something that is perhaps never going to reward you because you haven't defined the reward, and you also are not able to assess if this is worth your time. Now, it is true, if something is going to give you compensation, then yeah, we can usually say it's worth our time. But what happens if the compensation is not enough and you're still unhappy, right? When we think about time, it is defined as, I believe I read, the indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past and the future and the now, in the days to come. It is regarded as a continuum of life. But how do we use our time in which it is most effective? Well, that's when we do things that are purposeful, things that move the needle forward, things that impact other people positively, like sharing your life story, like sharing your mistakes so someone else doesn't make that mistake, like giving your time to someone who feels as though no one wants to give any of their time and they're not worth it. That's how you are able to impact the infinite continued progress of existence and events forward. As the Bible says, we must always remember that time is fleeting and that our days are numbered. When we don't consider time, then we become users of it that abuse the sacredity of time. When you think about people who are passing away, they don't ask for one more document to complete it, 10 more years in the workforce, or, I wish I had spent all of the money they have. They usually will say that they are missing out on time. If we do not use the time that we have wisely, we will find ourselves in tomorrow unprepared for the very next day because we did not sort through everything we had to do yesterday. The struggle may have ended if we pass through today into tomorrow, but if we haven't done anything to create a solution that presented a problem yesterday, we ultimately keep kicking the can down the road. We also keep delaying the finality of something that needs to end. When I was working, I remembered that I would have a problem or I would just have an issue with something, and I would say to myself, oh, it's okay. It'll be all right. I'll just do it another day because I have time. I'll just, work through it at another pace because I have time. But ultimately, that led to many versions of burnout. It diminished my tolerance for the thing. It diminished my tolerance for the people, because what I should have, as they used to say in the South, nipped in the bud, I didn't. I allowed for it to continue going, and it got worse, which is also a very good concept, that when people put something on you and you know that you don't want to complete it and you know you don't want to finish it, it's probably best to just say no and remove that from your plate. Good users of time are those individuals who are able to do what they want with their time whenever they have it. So instead of working for hours, they can observe the hours. That's a privilege. That's not a right. That's a privilege. That's the golden finish line that we all want, to have a life and a life more fulfilling, but not necessarily do all this toiling for it. Living a fulfilling life involves cultivating a mindset, being aware of time, engaging in practices that lead to deep satisfaction and purpose. So that brings us back to the top of the conversation, which is that when you are observant of time, you're doing something to move the needle forward because it is an infinite continued progress of existence. So your things that you're doing right now have to matter. They have to be purposeful. In addition to finding a deep satisfaction in the use of your time, you can also prioritize relationships that give back, relationships that are reciprocal, not just one way. Practicing extensive gratitude, which is saying thank you when you don't receive anything. Taking care of your physical and your mental health. If you don't feel it, don't do it. If your heart is not in it, don't be there. If it makes no sense and you're just trying to appease someone who you don't even think highly of, abort the mission. It's going to be a waste of time. When you align yourself with doing the most meaningful things with the hours and the minutes that you have here in life, you're going to find more depth in what you're doing, and you're likely going to navigate towards your purpose. I remember reading one time on the internet, or maybe in a book, because I do like to read several different books. And it said if the past is gone, we can't reverse time. If the future hasn't arrived, we can't get to the end, and the present becomes the past. It's fully loaded. But the past is gone. We can't undo that. The future is tomorrow, but we're not there yet. And where we stand now will be directly the production of what happens tomorrow. We're simply all on an assembly line. And if we want to have a certain product tomorrow, we have to build it today. It's like one of the philosophers said, the youngest that you'll ever be was your last breath. Every moment is both the end of an era and the start of something new. Every event is both the outcome of something and the cause of something else. So if you want something more positive, you want more of a concentrated result, you have to navigate towards people like that, towards that actual event, towards that actual synergy, and be on that frequency so that you can receive that intended outcome. This is why it makes sense that if you're not changing what you dislike, then you're choosing to have more of what you want to complain about. Without change, everything that you have around you and in your phone book, in your ear, in your life becomes a structural shackle if you're not choosing to change. I also like the quote by Tracy Chapman that says, people hide themselves in the mysteries of the world, and that beginnings ultimately show up in endings. So if you want to have more of a thing, if you want to have more time, if you want to have more purpose, if you want to have more money, more career, more success, more fame, you have to put yourself in alignment with where you want to be, with the people you want to be, with the resources that you want to be, essentially assembling everything today for that product tomorrow. And you may not actually get that product tomorrow, but it's still better that you have decided to change and to move towards what you ultimately want. And I have to be vague when I'm talking like this because the product, the person, the thing, the idea, it could be anything. You know, it doesn't have to necessarily be money. It doesn't have to necessarily be a person. So that's why I'm choosing to say things like, that thing, obtain that thing, that person, that idea. As it relates to change, if someone is not actively seeking to explore what is happening with them and their decisions or why it's happening, it must continue to happen again because they have not observed the idea nor the progression of how time is operating. The same goes when you're looking at investments. If someone's not exploring why they buy or why they won't save, they will continue along the same path unchanged, making a continuous progression of very bad decisions. They'll look up one day and say, I don't have any money. It's the president. I don't have any money. It's because I'm black. I don't have enough money because, there's not a lot of money out there, or there's no good jobs out there. But that's because they're still where they once were. They're in the same point in time thinking the same way. As Muhammad Ali said, if you are a person who thinks the same as you did in your 20s and 30s and you're now older, you have not aged. You have not moved. You have not changed. Your mentality is old. Time is not absolute, but to us, it is distinguishable. There is a time to live and there's a time to die. That is destined, but the time frame cannot be definitive. It seems because of this, people may actually waste more time working and consuming just to work and to consume. I met a person one time that, in an example, worked 66 years at a job, and at the end they retired in bad health and with a total savings of $400,000. 66 years for $400,000 is not enough money. And I think all of us would agree with that. So which is most desirable in this person's case? Was it the fact that they got out? Was it the fact that they had some change? Was it the fact that they worked 66 years? We'll never know. We'll never know. But statistically, that is a fair amount of time to only have such a small portion. When you agree? Because we don't know what is coming next, we can't spend too many moments experiencing the same thing. So we have to make the decision to move away from that thing that is not giving us our intended results. Time not used wisely becomes corrosive and a closed vault of dreams unlived, which is a high way to have a seeded pot of regret. The Bible says to remember that your days are numbered and that we should seek goodness, we should seek holiness, we should seek to add to the goodness, faith, and then to the faith, knowledge, and to knowledge, self-control, and then perseverance, ultimately all the way up to mutual affection. So, for all the listeners out there, I thank you so much for giving me a portion of your day. Thank you for giving me a portion of your ear. And I want you to be reminded that we must be observers and good pallbearers of time. Otherwise, we will find ourselves out of time, we'll be out of regret, and we will be filled with remorse. My name is Kyla P. Barnes. I am your financial chef and coach with Jean Glaze Art and Finance. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast, Conversations about the C Word. I will see you on the trading floor.